Jaguar could never build enough E-types to satisfy demand, so you'd have thought the success of a bigger engine sibling to the B would have been in the bag for MG. Perhaps only British Leyland could snatch failure from the jaws of success the way they did with the poor old MGC.
Ah, Leyland. Who else would go to the trouble of making a car with a new engine and front suspension that looked nearly the same as its 5-year-old cheaper sibling, and then compound its woes by making it handle less well?
The MGC had an identity crisis. It didn't know if it was a sports car or a GT, and didn't do either job as well as it should have done, really. When BMC were conceiving this car, it was put to Donald Healey that the next big Healey would basically be an MGC with Healey badging. He'd rather see the big Healey die than name be besmirched on something that he didn't approve of.
Safer, less skittish and equally fast, the C was measurably an improvement on the Healey, but lacking in that intangible element we like to call character. Buyers were underwhelmed on both sides of the Atlantic. It might have topped 120 mph, but the word was out that the MGC went straight on when it was shown a corner.
The story goes that the MGC got its reputation for understeer-stricken handling because the press cars had the incorrect tyre pressures. In truth, the MGC had no road holding problems. It just felt cumbersome compared to the B because the engine was longer and weighed 200 pounds more. This was MG's first 6-cylinder car for many years, but the engine was actually designed to go in the Austin 3 litre. A heavy, ponderous sort of an engine, but it can be persuaded to produce some reasonable power. And really, whatever you think of this car, I think it does look better, sound better. The bonnet bulge and the big wheels might be subtle, but they do give a beefier all-over effect to the car. This one's got 175 horsepower. Acceleration isn't going to snap your neck in first and second, but in third, an overdrive third on the right road, it's still quite a fast car. Maybe the bonnet bulge and the big wheels were a bit subtle, but at least the MGC didn't suffer the indignities of loud colour schemes. Rubber bumpers and deck chair seat trim that made the B look like it was dressing too young in the 70s. Maybe the MGC was more of a cut price Aston Martin than a cheap E-Type. I'm not sure a designer could actually do anything as attractive as an E-Type for the common man. There are limits to what you can do. Oh, a GT6. I've forgotten about those.
Giovanni Michelotti wasn't just any designer, was he?
Certainly not. He was the god who designed more Ferraris than I can count. Alphas, Lancias, Maseratis, even the BMW 2002. What have you got here?
A Triumph GT6, a Mark II nonetheless. I love this, yes. It's a car that you get into and you wear it, and it's just an extension of yourself as you drive it.
A very personal feeling.
Feel at one with the car.
Yeah. You could also describe it as feeling a bit like a coffin.
Well, maybe if you're of a claustrophobic disposition, but no, I have to say, the only thing that would tempt me about your MG, and this is literally it, the only thing is a bit more space inside.
Yes, it is roomier inside. It's the narrowness of this, isn't it?
I'd have to give you that.
The basic car that this is was designed to compete with the midget, wasn't it, really?
If you compare the midget and the Spitfire, there's actually rather more space in the Spitfire cockpit than there is in the midget.
You know, driving past a big lorry or something, do you ever feel sort of vulnerable in it? Or?
You've obviously got to look after yourself, and it's rather like riding a motorcycle. When you're riding a motorcycle, you've got to assume that everyone else on the road is out to kill you.
Yeah. Yes.
By combining the styling of the Spitfire with the fastback roof from their Le Mans winning racers and the straight 6.2 litre engine of the Vitesse Saloon, they had a winner.
Yeah, but dare I say it, it didn't handle, did it?
Well, the early cars had a problem with the swing axle rear suspension that was carried over from the Spitfires.
Yeah.
But with the Mark II, with this car, Triumph nailed it by swapping the swing axles for a separate wishbone design with rubber donuts in the drive shafts.
Yeah.
And then with extra power and improvements in styling and interior trim, the car was a winner.
So you got a relatively big engine in a light car, I suppose.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah. Nice.
Here we go.
Yeah, sounds good, doesn't it? Climb.
It'll keep you out of trouble if you corner too hard, but it doesn't feel quite as settled on the road. It tends to hop a little bit if you hit a bump mid-corner.
Right, okay.
But it won't throw you off into the hedge.
Yeah. Because I suppose this had the opposite problem to the MGC, didn't it? It's
Well, the MGC was famed for understeering.
understeer, yeah, that's right. But a lot of that was apparently to do with the tyre pressures in the original press cars weren't set correctly.
Yes, I've heard that story, and it's kind of hard to believe.
It's hard to believe,
that
but
MG couldn't actually get their press cars properly set up so they handled, if that's all it was.
But it's somehow easy enough to believe when you think about, British Leyland and BMC and all that sort of, fumbling the ball.
What do you think of that, Martin?
I thought it was acceptable at the very least.
Really side.
Another variation on getting out.
Oh, Martin, did you enjoy that? What do you think of the GT6?
It's acceptable at the very least. Yeah.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
I just think it's gorgeous. I mean, look at the lines. You've got the flow of the fastback roof going back to the tail where it meets the haunches over the back wheels. So it's just gorgeous the way that resolves. And then coming round to the bonnet, that bonnet bulge, a proper bonnet bulge, not this little thing, but a proper bonnet bulge. And that was actually born out of necessity, but it completely transforms the Spitfire's front end from something that was pretty into something much more purposeful. This car says it's got attitude, but it's pretty at the same time.
I think this is only a semi-good day at the office for Michelotti.
I don't.
Do you think? Where does it rank with? You don't accept that? No.
We're going to have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into this and love driving at home. You're going to get into that. Fortunately, I don't have to get into that.
Well,
you're going to love driving the MG home.
I will. I'll understeer around every corner back home. I can see the appeal of the GT6, but it's too dinky for me. I feel trapped in it. It's too small a car to have a roof, I think. I'm too big, I'm too fat for it. It highlights my obesity, whereas I sort of vaguely fit in this.
As we corner in this GT6, it feels really sure and planted. And with this one, the back won't hop out of line as you corner, it just goes where you point it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's something a bit fussy and ephemeral about the GT6. A slick marketing manoeuvre more than a properly engineered car, I always thought. It feels rattly, it doesn't feel of a piece, and it's not because it's got a chassis. Well, this is what we consider to be the nearest modern equivalent. It's British, it's front engined, it's a GT.
Modern British sports coupe.
The modern British sports coupe. Should we have a go around in it?
Yeah,
See what it's like?
car, isn't it?
So what are your thoughts on this then?
Well, first thing, it's much bigger than the GT6,
Yeah,
but it doesn't actually feel that much bigger because everything's black in here.
I mean, they've made no attempt like they did in the sort of older Jags to give it any kind of a back seat. It's just literally just nothing there at all,
Yes.
is there? Which I suppose is quite good in a way, because at least it's honest. It's just an honest two-seater.
Feeling driving this compared to the MGC, how does it feel?
Well, I mean, it's like a limousine, isn't it, compared to that? It feels very, very smooth. The gearbox, you can't feel the gear changes on it. You're totally isolated. A sports car's got to be manual. You've got to have that connection.
He described it as a driver's car.
Well, no, because you don't have to do anything, do you?
Because isn't that the essence of a sports
I
car?
would have thought so, yeah. I would have thought, a sports car's got to be manual.
you got to have that connection with what you're doing and the drivetrain of the car and controlling it. Whereas this, it takes all the control.
For me, a sports coupe, it's a luxury car.
It's a luxury car, it just happens to look like a coupe.
Yeah. And it's nicely styled.
It's a nice piece of styling, yeah.
I sometimes sit down and think to myself, I've got a little collection of classic cars and I'm very lucky. If I sold them all, good price for them, I could go out and spend that on one really nicely spec'd modern
really flash
car.
modern car like this.
But actually, sitting here in this, thinking that selling my classic collection could put me in this car just about.
It's just not a thrilling thought, is it?
No, exactly. I'd rather stay as I am, thank you very much.
Well, exactly. And also, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, but the depreciation on this is just going to be mind-numbing, isn't it?
GT6s just keep going up in price.
Yeah.
And I gather MGCs do as well.
They do.
Not that I can understand why.
With the Triumph name in forced hibernation under German control and the MG brand reduced to a meaningless identity on Chinese-built landfill cars, don't hold your breath for an affordable straight-six classic British sports car anytime soon. All the more reason to hunt down a classic example for a drive down winding country roads. The truth about these two 60s of the 60s is that they are different enough in character to mean that you could own both and not feel you're duplicating your British sports car experience. The MG is a more grown-up car that did the job it set out to do more competently than you might imagine, providing not just greater speed than the B, but a more relaxed driving experience. With a sexier marketing campaign, the MGC might have proved immune to the downbeat press reports that killed it before it really got into its stride. Triumph had a surer touch in marketing and promotion. The GT6 still has a younger, cheekier image that ditched the cloth cap and tweed jacket vibe for the world of the nylon rally jacket and open neck shirt, as it looked to the freewheeling, free-loving 70s. Being the common man has never been this rewarding.
Think of all the things in life that you spend money on that you don't want to.
We hope you like the show and want to see more.
If you do, click on the description and the links below and donate. But if you can't donate, just like, subscribe, share, and put the word out there, and we'll be back soon with some more. Thank you very much.